APAC, it is staffed entirely by Indian Americans, many of which were born here, advocating for India's political interests in a lobby. And
American history occupy positions of influence and authority like you see in those 4 offices. You've never seen this before.
Indian people and anti-Black racism specifically. So whether this is within the country of India or whether this is when Indian people immigrate to any part of the world.
Years, it has increased by 170%. Don't rush to scold me, okay? This comes from Statistics Canada. Meanwhile, politicians and elites in Europe and North America are also gradually being replaced by Indians.
So Americans and some Indians are exposing the East Indians in America on how racist they are towards Black people. And also when you look at America currently, they are basically taking over when it comes to politics in America. And I have Americans sharing their views on these particular topics and asking why Black people are always left behind and are systematically being controlled not to get to the top. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. You don't lose anything by liking, so just give the video a thumbs up. Let's go into the video, watch, come back and talk.
Do you think it's a coincidence that the mayor of New York is an East Indian and the director of the FBI is an East Indian and the wife of the current vice president is an East Indian and the last vice president was an East Indian? Art, you've never seen that many East Indians ever in American history occupy positions of influence and authority like you see in those 4 offices. You've never seen this before. And what I believe, Art, is that the white power structure is recruiting the East Indian immigrants and East Indian Americans to be the new priority minority. They're going to use them in America the same way the British used them in Uganda, the same way the British and the French and the Dutch used them in the Caribbean islands. When you go to the Caribbean, Art, the East Indians are a buffer group between the Blacks and the former colonizers. When you go to Africa, the East Indians are a buffer group between the Blacks and the former colonizers. And guess what they're about to do in America? Under Kamala Harris's administration, under Mayor Mamdani's administration, they're going to be a buffer group between Blacks in the power structure. History is repeating itself. Global Black history is repeating itself in America, Art. But because we don't study global Black history, because most of us are not Pan-Africanists, we don't even see the writing on the wall. We don't even see that America is about to use East Indians to replace and control Black people. You see it in New York City right now, and you're going to see it if Kamala Harris gets elected. And why? Because America cannot afford for India to get any closer to Russia and China than she already is, being a part of the BRICS Federation.
So I got an email from a follower, and he gives some really great insight to Indians and the way they work, because he is a legal Indian immigrant that came over here from 2001, but I'm going to read his message to you. I'm not going to show you his real name, but he said he goes by Ray. I'm second generation Indian that moved to the United States in 2001 legally. I've been talking about this Indian takeover for more than a decade, and back then, no one would believe me. I'm very happy that people like you and others are bringing this to the spotlight. I'd like to explain the major problem. Majority of these Indians that moved here in the last 5 to 10 years bear their loyalty to India. Be advised that when they move here, they bring their caste system mindset, political affiliations to Indian leadership and their country's allies like Russia and Iran. This is why they move into enclaves and refuse to assimilate. Check out IANT and TANA groups on Facebook. They despise and never celebrate American culture. Just like myself, there are many others who believe America doesn't deserve Indians. This isn't a hatred, but a major problem that is causing a divide within Texans and communities. Even people like Bert Thacker bear his affiliation to BJP, a right wing of India that persecutes Christians. I'm sorry, sometimes I have a hard time reading these if I'm reading them off the spot. While on contrary, he voices for Indians being minority here. What an irony. I am willing to come to your podcast and openly talk about it. Ray, this is my invitation to you. We will absolutely have you on the podcast to talk about this because I've already talked about this caste system and I know it exists, but having that perspective from an Indian who legally immigrated here. Yeah, brother, come on, let's do this.
Where is it? It looks like India, right? Well, this is a park in Toronto, Canada. I once said that the United States was another version of India, and a lot of people attacked me for it. Now the entire Western world is turning into India. You probably vote like this video, so I will comment emotionally, only logic and data. The Indian origin population in Canada has already exceeded 5 million, accounting for about 12% of the total population, and it is still growing by hundreds of thousands every year. Just over the past 4 years, it has increased by 170%. Don't rush to scold me, okay? This comes from Statistics Canada. Meanwhile, politicians and elites in Europe and North America are also gradually being replaced by Indians. So why is the West Indianizing so fast? The conclusion is interesting. India's system feeds the West very well, and Western systems also feed Indians extremely well, are a perfect match. Think about it. Many countries already contain elements such as theism, caste-like hierarchies, racial policies, mass manipulation, happy education, widespread drug use, and indulgent lifestyles. They were already evolving in India's direction. Indians trained from a young age within such a system arrive in Europe and North America as if coming home, like fish in water. A lot of people often mock Indians for bragging or scamming. But haven't you noticed that this is precisely why they do well in Western countries? Logically speaking, this also proves that Western societies are perfectly adapted to Indians. Wouldn't you agree? Indian immigrants like to cluster together. The old help the new, the few bring in the many in one area. Once there is one Indian, soon there will be many, right? Back then, white people colonized India. Now, India is colonizing back in different way. Well, some people say that's karma. Thailand and Cambodia are currently at war, and one important reason is telecom fraud. But, in fact, Indians are the true grandmasters of telecom scams. That's not my claim either. It comes from FBI data. Indians scam about $10 billion from the US annually. Why does it work anyway? Because Indians understand America and Americans very well. Then the Western racial discrimination resembles a caste system, one race disclaiming against another. For example, on Jews like Brahmins, Asians like Dalits, other races in the middle. You'll probably refute this and say it's politically incorrect. But is it the emperor's new clothes? If no one dares to say something, does that prove it doesn't exist? I won't comment either, so judge for yourself. I bet you saw many people laugh at Indian street food, but they don't mark the failure of Indian elites to govern their country. Isn't that the real political incorrectness? Ordinary Indians are just struggling to survive. But the elite class speaks English, enjoys a comfortable life, and yet does not devote itself wholeheartedly to governing the country. Admiration for India, in fact, exists among Western elites. For example, Hitler believed that the Indian Brahmins were the true pure Aryans. Do you think Western elites want ordinary people to stop questioning politicians and financial dynasties? So, do you think they want people to worship them as a higher caste? Do they want to turn you into servants? So, as you saw, Indians are like a liquid. They naturally flow to places that suit their survival. As for the people who originally lived there, well, supposedly they just weren't suited to live there. Otherwise, why would Indians move in? Historically, India is fascinating. It was never truly a unified country, yet it was conquered again and again. Even modern India was essentially built with the help of British colonizers. But what's remarkable about India is this: no matter how it is conquered or ruled, it remains India, always dancing, singing, and drinking water from the Ganges. Whoever conquers India eventually becomes India. So is it possible that no one can truly defeat India? But India can defeat you. When they come to your country, either your country becomes India or you become Indian. Follow me on Eastern Perspective to see the world.
There's an Indian APAC. Yes, you heard me right. There is an Indian version of APAC. The US INPAC, United States India Political Action Committee, is effectively the Indian form of APAC. It is staffed entirely by Indian Americans, many of which were born here, advocating for India's political interests in a lobby. And they're like the number one reason why India is allowed to have a nuclear bomb. This is part of a bigger problem called diaspora politics. Now, what does that actually mean? Basically, what happens is that the foreign countries where these people come from realize that since they have people living in our countries that are going to be ethnically or religiously loyal to their motherland, they can get them to advocate for foreign countries in the United States government. As of November 2015, United States Senate candidates supported by US INPAC included politicians such as Ravi Sanghasetti, Anish Chopra, Vivek Kundra, and Keisha Ram. God, I fucking wonder why they support those people. US INPAC focuses on diverse issues relating to the Indian American community, specifically legal immigration. This is a prime example of why Jews and Indians can't be migrants into this country, is because of course they would do this. This is the most Jewish and the most Indian thing I could possibly think of. No, look here. US INPAC's periodic collaborations with organizations such as the American Jewish Committee. Oh, so if you want to beat both APACs, be sure to give me a follow.
So you're telling me Asians have power with no politics?
Come on.
But black people got politics.
Nope.
And they ain't got no power.
Come on, man.
Maybe we need to take a page from the Asian. But do you know who the top median household income is in the United States of America right now? It's the East Indian and the Asian. Both of them are averaging as a median income over $100,000 a year.
Wow.
You go, they in business for themselves though.
Right.
They not doing you see them, they got all the subways. They doing business. What about us?
They're not waiting around.
We last place.
Yeah. And that's why I said, like, so much time has been wasted. You know, I knew we had to go through the civil rights movement. We had to do all of the things to try to get the little bit of action we got now. But, you think about, we go back to Black Wall Street but there were many other cities besides just Tulsa. People think Tulsa was just a one-off, but it was multiple cities that were doing the same. So we've already exercised that principle, but it got lost. And I just think we wasted so much time, man. And because they put whoever they want to put in front of us and say, okay, these are the two that y'all choose who's going to be.
The minister said it like this. He said, politics without economics is symbol without substance.
Yeah.
So we put too much energy in the civil rights and not enough in the civil rights.
Indian people are coming for me in my comments. And, so I know I'm on the right track with what I'm saying. But what I want to talk about in this specific video is Indian people and anti-Black racism specifically. So whether this is within the country of India, or whether this is when Indian people immigrate to any part of the world, whether it be on the African continent, in North America, South America, wherever, Indian people have, and again, I'm not saying every single Indian person, but I'm talking about Indian people generally, our society, our culture, the belief systems that Indian people hold, etc. Indian people are extremely, extremely racist, especially towards Black people.
I find it really hypocritical how Indians and South Asians will talk about prejudice they experience by white people and then turn around and take that same discriminatory energy and use it against Black people. I know it happens. I grew up hearing it. So let's talk about how you are so eager to fit in that you would rather appease those who oppress you than support other oppressed groups. You know what that smells like? Desperation for acceptance. And the sad part is, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you work to blend in, you will still be seen as an other.
And I'm telling you, what people can deny this as much as I'll talk from my own family. They think Black people smell. They think Black people are always stealing. looking at lux. They think Black people are corrupt. And you know what they say? It's their culture. It's their culture. Constantly that's who they are. And then when something happens, right? Say there's a robbery. 90% is going to be a Black person.
If you want to see racism against Black Americans, just go into tech. I am an engineer, 3 engineering degrees. If you want to see how people of immigrants treats Black Americans, go in tech and go work with Indians.
Colorism is truly a scourge among brown folk. I remember experiencing colorism from the earliest moments of my life, and it was the first form of discrimination that I was acutely aware of because it came from my own people. For context, I am the darkest skinned person among my family, among my extended family, and the way having dark skin was phrased was discussed so nonchalantly among my family, among other brown community members, was almost as though being blacker, being browner, was in itself a pejorative. When I was young and I would meet family in India who I had never met before, the first conversation they would have was about where I got my skin tone from. My mom is fair-skinned, her mom is fair-skinned, and both my brother and my dad are brown-skinned. When I was in elementary school and my grandmother would come to visit us in the States, she would stop me from going out to play with other kids in the neighborhood because I was getting too dark. The sun was getting me too dark. When I was in high school and I got into my first long-term relationship with a fair-skinned girl, she very casually told me about the fact that her uncle would refer to me as Kali, and she said it as though it was a funny statement. To them, dark skin is inferior in the same way that the sky is blue. I was in my AP World History class in high school with one of the other few South Indian people within my friend group, and very casually the topic of like, oh, if you could choose any ethnicity to be, what would you be came up, right? And I was thinking, I was about to hear like Polynesian, because Polynesian guys are just buff as fuck for no reason, or like Thai, because Thai food is great. This self-hating fuck was like, I would want to be North Indian. When you are brown, you are taught to hate yourself for one reason or another. And a large reason that I am not friends with brown folk, even though I want to be closer to my culture, even though I would love to be able to pass on my language and my food to my children in the future, is that misery loves company, and I am not miserable.
And if you take a Black person who has been around Indian people for any period of time, Black people pick up on this. It's something that is, this is not a secret. Whether you're talking to, say African students who study in India, which there are African students who are there, or whether you're talking about, say, Kenyans. There's a large population of Kenya that are Indian people that have immigrated to that country, or South Africa, or Canada, or, the United States, whatever. But Black people pick up on Indian people's racism because it is quite apparent. It's something that that is there. It's obvious. When it comes to Black people specifically, Indian people have extremely racist views about Black people. And it doesn't matter how nice this Black person is, how educated they might be. None of those things matter. And that's why I say that a lot of Indian people, they align themselves with a very far right-wing kind of Trump ideology. Say if an Indian person had to marry a Black person, 9 times out of 10, that Indian person's family is going to completely disown the Indian person who married a Black person. Indian people are racist towards other Indian people. Some of this is based on skin color. It's not entirely based on skin color, but there is a factor that is, that is apparent in that. So I guess Indian people, if you guys want to come for me, come for me. I am not saying anything that's untrue. This is the truth, and I think it's kind of an open secret.
A lot of Indians don't like Black people because if you have a baby with a Black guy, they think how dark it will come out. And in my case, this is true. So my family always called me dark growing up. Mind you, I'm not that dark, but my mother is darker than me and my father is lighter than me. So of course, then you get me. But apparently I'm still dark. So when I was pregnant with my son, all my mom would say is how dark my child was going to be. Now, when he was born, when you look at the top of a newborn's earlobe, you'll see what color they're going to be, basically. Their pigmented earlobe basically tells you how dark or how light the child is. So what she said was, he's going to be so dark, look at his ear. I was like, huh? I didn't get it until later that she thought that because of his ear, he's going to be dark. And well, anyway, colorism is a big issue in India. And that could be why they don't really like the intermingling with Black people. Now, that being said, my mom did remarry after my parents divorced, and she did marry a white guy. And my sister is half white, so she's super, super bright.
You see, when it comes to black people, I all the time say that it's sad to see that the whole world, we are being hated everywhere. Everywhere. Like, I mean, everywhere we are being hated. Everywhere. And this is like the saddest thing, that you sometimes sit down, think about it, and you don't even know why. What sin have we committed as black people? What sin have we committed as black people that everybody hates us? When you talk about India today, we have black Indians. When you go to Asia, Chinese, like China for instance, there are black Chinese. When you go to Iran, there are black Iranians. When you go to South America, there are black people there. America, wherever. We just migrated to basically around the world, and some too were taken through the slavery. It's just sad. It's just sad. It's very, very sad to see this and to see how they've kept us down. And now, as the Americans are saying, they are the ones that are being given the opportunity in America right now. They own businesses. They are basically also controlling part of the economy. But black people are never given that opportunity. And when it comes to politics, as you can see, they've been given so many positions. And as Dr. Umar said, so they are basically using them as a buffer between the black and the white. So listen, black people, I actually have a plan, and I wish my voice can reach a wider audience for me to just give this particular plan, because when you look at the way things are going, everywhere we are hated. The only home for you is Africa. I don't want to say much. Thank you so much for watching.